Good morning, my companions of darkness. Today, I bring you two confessions from a very unholy Friday. Stories that pierced the silence of the night and reached me like whispers of something that shouldn't be told. Therefore, I recommend turn off the lights, lock the doors tightly, and, most importantly, put on your headphones. Because tonight is not made for sleep. Bloody Mary. It was Friday night. Outside, a light rain fell steadily, marking the window panes with small, shimmering lines. The light wind caused the trees to knock against each other, creating a hollow, almost human sound. The house, immersed in darkness, had only one point of light, a dim bulb leaking through a crack in a door at the end of a long hallway. The air carried that musty smell that felt heavy on the skin. Each footstep on the wooden floorboards creaked differently, as if the sound were being drawn into the house instead of echoing. 3 teenagers were passing by. The facade was worn, the paint peeling, the windows broken. To their eyes, it was just an abandoned house. But in reality, it had been abandoned only by the living. They pushed open the door with a sharp click. The smell of dust mixed with something sweet and sour assaulted their nostrils. They entered, illuminating the rooms with their cell phone flashlights. The floor was covered in dry leaves and broken glass. Exploring every corner, I found old furniture covered in moldy sheets, crooked paintings, and, at the end of the hallway, a closed door. The light leaking from underneath and through the cracks indicated that something was lit inside. Curious, they pushed open the door and found a small, old bathroom with yellow tiles and an oval mirror above the sink. It wasn't an ordinary mirror. It reflected more than it showed. Something seemed to move in the background, as if a presence were there, silently observing. They returned to the living room and found a worn candle on a wooden table. On the wall, a large, ornate rectangular mirror stood in the center, reflecting the entire room. They lit the candle. The flame danced, casting shadows that writhed on the walls, creating figures that clearly breathed. The glass reflected the light, but in the middle was a dark, dense stain, as if something were trapped behind it. The air grew colder, and a faint vapor began to creep across the floor, coming from under the bathroom door. With no hot water running, the sink was covered in icy dampness. The smell changed. Now it was metallic and sickening, like fresh blood. Small reddish droplets began to form along the edges of the bathroom mirror. Slowly, they dripped down, leaving trails as if the mirror were bleeding. Frightened, they ran to the bathroom to confirm. The cold was so intense that their breath turned to smoke. The walls vibrated slightly, as if something heavy was moving behind them. Slow footsteps could be heard, digging for a long time, and the unmistakable sound of nails scraping against the glass. The red droplets grew larger, gathering together and running down in thick rivulets. They returned to the living room, terrified. The candle went out. Darkness enveloped them completely. In the large mirror, the candle's image seemed fainter, but there was something new there, shadows moving behind the reflection. Formless, just long arms, deformed hands, and a face. Pale, lifeless, with empty eyes and a smile that seemed to tear the skin. And even in the face of this, it didn't leave. They decided to play the forbidden game, summon Bloody Mary. There was no laughter or sincere courage in that moment, only a youthful stubbornness mixed with fear. When they finished the ritual, a deep sound echoed from the bathroom. It wasn't just a noise, it was a low, distorted voice, as if coming from underwater. The cold intensified, and an icy wind swept through the house. They huddled together, feeling something moving around them. The light returned. No one could tell if seconds or minutes had passed. The oval mirror in the bathroom was clean, untouched, except for a single mark in the center, a deep red scratch. On the floor, small dark stains stretched toward the exit door. But the worst part was in the reflection. The bathroom seemed empty, but in the background, behind the image, the face was still there, motionless, monitoring, waiting for next Friday night. My dark neighbors. It was almost midnight on a rainy Friday. The neighborhood was plunged into a profound silence, broken only by the distant sound of water lapping against the asphalt and the faint hum of power lines. The lights of the houses formed a necklace of yellowish dots on the narrow street, except for one specific house, which remained completely dark. Dark, but not empty. Sonia had lived on that street for a short time, but whenever she passed by, she felt strangely drawn to that building. It was as if something called her name without making a sound. For the first week, the neighboring house had been unsettlingly conspicuous, curtains that never moved, windows always open to the darkness, swallowing any reflection. Yet, there was movement inside. Quick, sudden movements, as if something were crawling along the walls and climbing up the ceiling. That Friday, the air was heavier. A cold, damp wind blew from the alleyway to the side of the house, carrying an indefinable smell, something between wet wood and rusted iron. And then, a new detail: one of the windows, always motionless, was ajar. Behind it, nothing could be seen. Only dense shadows. But the sound was there. A slow shuffling, the kind of noise reminiscent of nails on plaster. Short, irregular footsteps, without human rhythm, echoing as if they were aimlessly moving through the rooms. The rain thickened, forming a shimmering blanket under the dim light of the streetlights. In the reflection of the water, Sonia noticed something: a shadow standing on the second floor, exactly in the center of the window. It was tall, taller than any normal person, and its outline seemed unstable, as if the figure were constantly oscillating. Then, the shadow retreated, but on the glass remained a dark stain, pulsing, as if breathing. The cold began to bother her. Wet and uncomfortable, Sonia returned home, trying to shake off the strange sensation that was haunting her. Later, insomnia drove her back to her bedroom window. From there, she could clearly see the house next door. The windows, previously motionless, now showed subtle movements. Pale hands, too long to be human, appeared and disappeared on the glass, leaving wet, misshapen marks. Something ran across the ceiling and floor with impossible speed, crossing entire rooms in seconds. In the middle of the night, all the lights in the neighborhood flickered at once. And then, the entire street was plunged into total darkness. It was at that moment that the house next door lit up. Not with electric light, but with an unstable orange glow, like flames trapped behind the walls. All the windows revealed silhouettes. Dozens of them. Motionless. Watching. And all of them turned toward Sonia's house. She opened her own window to try to get a better look. In the same second, the power came back on. The orange light disappeared. The windows were closed again, and darkness filled the house next door. But something had changed. On the window of Sonia's room, from the outside, were two handprints. Large, pale, and still damp, as if someone had just pressed them there. The sound of the front door opening echoed through the house. Sonia froze. Her breathing quickened, and she felt something warm and moist, like a breath, touch her ear. Then, a cold hand landed on the back of her neck, slow and heavy. When she turned, she saw only black smoke retreating down the hallway, disappearing into the darkness. And until dawn, no matter how hard she tried to avoid looking, she knew that, behind every window in that house, there were eyes fixed on her. Waiting. Watching. And so it ends, another Unholy Friday. But if you think these were the only stories the night holds, you're wrong. There are still secrets and experiences that never saw the light of day. For now, I thank you for staying with me until the end. And remember, the dawn is never empty. It just waits for the right time to call you. Until next time, if you have the courage to return.